Round 2 of the Vintage Power 9 Challenge, and we're playing against Trucky333. And at first glance, it looks like this guy plays blue-white standstill. He unfortunately has won the die roll here, and given that there's a possibility that we're going to be facing down a turn 1 standstill, I think that this hand is reasonable. Obviously, you want to have spheres against them, but we're very low curve, and we are going to be able to beat down as well as blow up his lands if need be. So, you know, obviously hoping that we draw other lands. But we're going to keep this hand, presuming that that's what the opponent is playing, and hopefully he just doesn't have a fast start. Like we don't really want to see a turn 1 standstill. That's great. And what this is going to allow us to do here is we're going to have a strong turn 1 play. Hopefully we draw land. We did, and that's just the best land we could possibly have here. So what I'm going to do is, now there's always possibility that you're playing into Mind Break Trap doing this, but it is what it is. We're going to try and get an Overseer into play here, and we're going to strip mine. This may get forced. That's pretty good for us. Now, and having double factories here is huge in the standstill mirror. Like, it's not good for them at all. So, what would be good is if we can draw a sphere here. Now, we're going to make it STP'd right away, which is very reasonable. Wasteland. So, I'm really happy to draw that Wasteland here. Just keeping him off lands is significant. And we can cast a Ravager. See if this gets forced. No. Hopefully our opponent stalls on lands here. I mean, standstill typically play quite a few lands. But okay, we're going to play here. Hopefully it's just a cantrip, non-ancestral recall cantrip. Okay, I can live with that. And I think what we're going to do here, presuming our opponent doesn't have a play, like he could, I guess, go Lotus into something like Standstill, but that's not really a winning proposition. I mean, he may think it's a winning proposition without knowing what our hand is, but what we're looking for here is a sphere. I think would be really good for us. Oh, he does have the Lotus, so we'll see if he goes for Standstill here. That would be just awesome. Time Walk. Okay. Completely fine with that. As long as he doesn't Ancestral me here. I mean, he just burnt his Lotus to... yeah, Time Walk. So he's going to play a Standstill here. What he doesn't realize, though, is that I've got the factory, so much like we said when we had our opening hand, this is kind of the scenario that we like. Yeah, I don't really want to... I could see actually sacrificing a Mox for the land, but because my opponent does play Wastelands, I'm just going to hedge my bets here. Like, eventually he's going to have to crack his Standstill. Hopefully we can dodge a Wasteland here, but... yeah, no lands for our opponent. Look at this, guys. Triple factory. So strong. I 100% am going in with my Raptor. I will sacrifice both my Moxes here. And if he blocks my factory, I'm probably just going to let him have it. I guess we could sacrifice the Ravager and just put it on. which is actually quite reasonable given this board state. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that there, guys. I just got a phone call from my wife there. We'll pump that up, and we're going to trade, and we'll put the Ravager tokens onto the factory, which is really big game. Like, if he doesn't have a Wasteland. So this is has worked out to kind of be the perfect scenario, given that my opponent was on the play and he did drop that standstill on the back of knowing that he had a factory in hand, which was bigger. So this is not perfect in the sense that I got wastelanded, but that's what this deck is, and you know, it's possible that he's going to be able to wasteland us out. Let's make sure here. Newly controlled. So let's animate our factory and get going here. My opponent's probably going, oh my god, this guy's got all the lands here, all the factories. And if we can, you know, drawing an Ancient Tomb off the top would just be amazing, because we could beat down with 2, which will close the gap pretty quickly. But, you know, the fact my opponent's struggling on lands and was forced to wasteland my creature is pretty, you know, pretty good for us. And, you know, he is getting in a position here where he's going to have to crack his own standstill. We just want to try and keep drawing lands here so we don't get too full of a hand. So this is a bad scenario for us. We do now need to draw another land. Like, we can attack here right now, which I'm going to do, because you can't actually pump it because it's newly controlled. But now we need to have another land to be able to pump, so we can have a factory to pump. So our opponent is outdrawing us on lands now. And that, unfortunately, is not the type of land we're looking for, but we'll take it nonetheless. So he did stall us out. Nice card, but can't cast it. So we're getting into a little bit more of a precarious situation here. We really need to draw a land here. We're going to be in a discarding position in just a minute. And, like, you know, almost perfect for him to crack his own standstill if he ever had to do it. And this is the type of scenario you do it, where you're putting your opponent in a position where he has to discard. Yeah, so we're going to discard. What do we want to discard here? Get rid of the Metamorph. I mean, we're still in a good position here, but, you know, we're letting valuable ground go by not drawing lands here, which is a bit of a bummer. Just that one factory stalls us. So what we're looking for here is a non-workshop type land. Wasteland, Strip Mine would be good. And we are bricking really bad here. The spheres are relevant if the standstill gets cracked. But we do want to have a high number of creatures in hand, that, given the opportunity. So that's a good draw for us. So we're going to wasteland them. Do we want a wasteland? Do we want to just trade? Because what we could do here is we could attack in now, and we can pump and trade. And that still leaves us with our own factory. But I think I'm just going to wasteland this thing. So he may just crack his own standstill now. So I think I move into pre-combat here, see if he spends his mana. So we could very well be seeing an STP here, but I'm fine with that. So he's probably just going to crack it end of turn is my guess. And he didn't. Interesting. Okay. If I was him, I would have done it there. You know, discarding my cards out of my hand here, like everything I have is just quality. So Ancient Tomb here would just be awesome. Yeah, so he's probably cracking it now would be my guess, going 5. And yeah, exactly. So we got to discard a lot of cards here. We've got 11 cards in hand. I do like the Ancient Tomb, and I also like the Workshop. I think the Soul Ring is quite good. However, I think the likelihood of a Soul Ring resolving is not phenomenal. I think we just want to go the route, like, let's just jam creatures against this guy. Like, that's really the route we want to go here. You know, he just Ancestral. He's got a ton of cards in hand. Let that go. Yeah. So, you know, the opponent did what he was supposed to do there. He sat on his standstill as long as he possibly could, and he's just going to probably, you know, drop a Jace the Mind Sculptor or something like that. Here would be my guess. But Jace, unfortunately for him, is not going to be good enough. Because, yeah, he's just sitting back. So he's probably got some number of STPs, mana drains, etc. So let's think this through here. So I think the first thing we want to do is, you know, he's at quite a low life level. So let's get a Ravager in play here. I think that's the place to start. Let's just get a Ravager in. Like, I think he needs to be quite aggressive in countering our spells. Yep. So there you go. I think I'm going to drop another Ravager here. Which is going to get mana drained. Yeah. So now we're going to cast a Revoker. Which got my Retract. Okay. And he probably has an STP here is my guess. Now, there's a couple different lines we can use here, guys. Like, he's going to crack this fetch, inevitably putting him down to 3. Given the fact we could be facing a standstill next turn, I think keeping our factories is pretty good. But he does have to actually do something. This is a tough situation. Do I just attack him down, basically putting him to 1? And then the next turn try and cast the Ballistas? He would need to cast a Standstill and 2 Wastelands. I think we just attack. Like, if he's got an STP here, which is perfectly reasonable, then he casts another Standstill. You know what, guys? I'm just going to play the Ballista. I think it's hedging our bets. This is something that's going to pump up really nicely in a turn or two, and just having that extra damage is significant, and it leaves our factories alone. So he could cast a Jace the Mind Sculptor here once again and hold up a couple mana, but he's got a pretty tough situation to get through here. I think he's pretty much penciled into trying to kill my Ballista here. And I do have another Walking Ballista coming up, which is solid. Like, I don't know what else these guys run, but let's take a look here. He's got Emrakul, which would be pretty bad for us if we could cast an Emrakul. That would screw us up pretty good. Okay, so he just passes turn back. So let's start forcing his hand here. Let's cast a Chief. He's got 3 cards in hand here. He doesn't run a main deck Hercules, does he? No. I think I'm going to force him to have it here, guys. Yeah. All right. That was super close. That was a long game. I got to watch my clock here. So I think we just want to be super aggro here. Let's take a look at what he's got in his board, which I'm sure is pretty solid. Sabotage, STP, Disenchant, Energy Fluxes are all really good. We just want to stay really low to the ground. I do like Chalice against them. Like, being able to shut off their STPs and stuff is massive. Problem is our entire deck is super aggro, so I can see getting rid of a Trinisphere. I also see getting rid of like a Sphere on the draw. Like, we just want to resolve creatures. That's what we want to do. See, getting rid of Metamorph here and bring the Sphere back in. Ratchet Bomb's also not the worst when you're facing down something like an Energy Flux, but the likelihood it's going to survive is pretty bad. Let's try this out, guys. I don't think I like this hand. Much better. So we're going to have pretty strong turn 1 here with double Porcelain Legionnaire. Do we want a Thorn? I think not. I think we just want land. Like, if he gets the Sphere, that's fine. So we really want to avoid a turn 1 standstill here, which is good. So note he hit us with a Mindbreak Trap last turn. So I think the first thing we're going to do is I hate to take this much damage, but Standstill doesn't pressure your life total that much. Interesting. Do we want to cast a double Legionnaire here? 5 mana. Like, I could actually play the factory and play 2 Legionnaires here. I think I'm going to do it. Like, he's probably got a force of will here. Like, we may as well just get him in, right? Thing is, I don't really want to expose my factory, and I'm taking extra damage for no reason here, but I am going to do it. Sabotage? Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's cast the Legionnaire here. He might have a force of will, but I'm okay with that, I think. He might have removal of some sort, but I think that's okay. We've got the factory, and we're going to put a sphere down next turn. So pretty good turn. You know, they do have a lot of removal, there's no doubt about it, but you know, if we get through this without getting it removed, then I think we're in good shape. Obviously, we want to keep them off something like Energy Flux, but even having Tellurian Academy really helps with that. We could get Wastelanded here as well, which I would be completely fine with. See if we get removed. Another good draw. Let's attack first. Get some damage in if we can. Just run something like Daze. No. Daze is a very niche card. Not a lot of people play it. I mean, you can get people with their pants down every once in a while on it, but... So here's the force, which I'm completely fine with. I mean, I prefer not, but, you know, if he plays something like he's protecting playing an Energy Flux this turn, so he's down to 3 cards. So he drops a Flux, I pay 2 life for my Porcelain Legionnaire, and I attack in for 5. Play a factory, animate, and go. Which is solid. Like, that's a really solid clock. Factory, okay. Time Walk, not as keen as that about that, but now if he turns around and plays a Jace the Mind Sculptor here, we are going to be able to kill it. Well, presumably. I mean, he will bounce this with Jace. This is about as good as a hand as you're going to get to protect against Energy Flux. So what would we like here? It's got 2 cards. I think I would be good with a Wasteland Snap. Ooh, that's not something I'm happy to see. Another Time Walk, jeez. I mean, 1 card, so... this does give him insulation, though, if he draws a bomb like Jace. Alright. It wouldn't be bad for him to be the beatdown here. I'll be honest with you. I think I'm going to animate my factory here. I'll have 1 floating, 2, and I can just pay an Academy and drop the Chief. I think that works. Then we trade. I mean, we do got our life total. We do have to be a little bit careful of here, but 1, 2, 3. So let's see if we can resolve this thing first. I mean, there's a good chance we don't, but he's only got 1 card in hand actually, so Chief definitely beefs this field up pretty significantly. All right, so migrate trap. All right. So I'm not really keen to attack with my factory into this. Because he just trades. It's not ideal. But he's empty-handed, and I've got a factory in hand, which is pretty good. But if he starts coming down at me as the beatdown here, then I'm a little more nervous about it because my life total is precarious. Wasteland. That's a good draw. The next turn, I'm going to be hitting pretty good with the other factory. All right. Yay, Chief. Can we resolve this one? Yes. I mean, it's very likely he's got removal here, but Snapcaster still won't be able to trade with any of my creatures if he does remove the Chief. And he dies here if he doesn't react, so maybe removal, but what would be a really upsetting card here would be something like, well, not even, I was going to say Balance, but Balance doesn't even do that much. All right.